There is something mysteriously powerful about the twin flame journey, a love so intense it awakens every hidden corner of the soul. This connection is not an ordinary romance, it's a meeting of two souls that mirror each other perfectly. It awakens growth, healing, and truth. But while it brings divine love, it also brings deep fear. For one of the twins, often known as the runner, this love feels almost too much to bear. Many believe the runner fears intimacy or commitment, but the truth runs far deeper. The shocking reality is that the fearful twin flame runner is not afraid of losing their twin. They are afraid of losing themselves within the connection. The love feels so vast, so consuming, that it threatens everything they think they know about who they are. To them, surrender feels like vanishing, like dissolving into something beyond their control. This is what most people miss. The runner's journey is not about rejection, but self-preservation. Beneath the silence and distance lies a battle between the soul that longs for union and the ego that fears annihilation. To understand this is to see the runner not as cold or cruel, but as a soul trembling before divine transformation. 1. The fear of losing control. At the center of the runner's struggle is the fear of losing control. Before meeting their twin, they might have lived life with predictable order, decisions made logically, emotions kept in check. But the twin flame connection sweeps all that away. Suddenly, they are feeling emotions they can't reason through, drawn to someone in a way that defies explanation. They feel exposed, vulnerable, and powerless against a love that seems to have its own will. To someone who equates control with safety, this feels unbearable. Love should make sense, but this love doesn't. It doesn't follow timing, logic, or rules. The runner's world begins to unravel because they can't fit this connection into the boxes that once kept them safe. So they retreat, not because they don't care, but because they are trying to regain control over their inner world. They run not to destroy the bond, but to find their footing again. When the chaser understands this, the energy shifts. Instead of chasing, the key is to become still. Ground yourself, meditate, reconnect with your center. When your energy is calm, it stops feeling threatening. In time, that stillness becomes a silent invitation for them to return. The fear of vulnerability. Twin flame love requires the heart to be fully open, something most people have never done before. For the runner, this is terrifying. They may carry old wounds from childhood or past heartbreaks that taught them vulnerability equals pain. So when they meet someone who sees through every wall, who mirrors every hidden wound, their instincts scream to protect themselves. This connection forces authenticity. It reflects every insecurity and emotion they've buried. To the runner, that feels like standing naked before someone who can see everything. They fear being judged, rejected, or abandoned once their flaws are exposed. So they hide. They retreat into silence or distraction, not to punish the other, but to shield themselves from what feels like emotional danger. The best thing you can do in this moment is to embody emotional safety. Do not try to pry their heart open or demand explanations. Simply hold space with love and steadiness. Show them through your calm presence that love doesn't require performance. It accepts. When you become that safe space energetically, their fear slowly begins to dissolve. 3. The fear of being consumed by love. Perhaps the most hidden fear of all is the fear of being consumed. Twin flame love is so powerful that it erases the illusion of separation. The runner begins to feel their twin even from afar, in dreams, thoughts, emotions. It's like being magnetically tied to another soul. For someone used to independence, this intensity feels suffocating. They start to fear that if they surrender, they will lose their sense of individuality entirely. They long for freedom, yet the connection binds them no matter where they go. This paradox drives their confusion. They try to distract themselves, move on, or find solace in other relationships, but the energetic link never breaks. The love follows them because it is not just emotional, it's spiritual. To the chaser, this behavior seems contradictory. Why run from something so sacred? But to the runner, it's survival. They're trying to find a way to love without disappearing. The lesson here is that true union doesn't erase individuality. It amplifies it. When you stop seeking completion through them and rediscover your own wholeness, you show them through example that love doesn't consume, it expands. 4. The fear of emotional dependence. Emotional dependence terrifies many runners. They may have grown up learning that relying on others leads to disappointment or pain. So when they feel deeply connected to someone they can't let go of, it triggers panic. They feel as though their happiness depends on this bond, and that lack of control feels dangerous. Even if they love their twin deeply, they may withdraw to reassert independence. They convince themselves that distance is the only way to survive emotionally. But beneath that independence is fear. Fear of being hurt, fear of needing someone too much, fear of losing themselves if they stay. Yet this separation serves a purpose. It teaches both twins emotional balance. The runner learns that love doesn't have to mean dependence, and the chaser learns that attachment is not the same as connection. When you as the chaser begin to thrive in your own life, filling your world with passion, creativity, and peace, you energetically reassure your twin that love can exist without control. In that realization, the emotional cords between you both begin to heal naturally. 5. The fear of unworthiness. Deep down, many runners believe they are not worthy of such profound love. When they look into their twins' eyes and feel unconditional acceptance, it reflects every part of themselves they've judged or rejected. The love feels too pure, too sacred, and instead of comfort, it triggers shame. They question, why me? How could someone love me this much? Rather than basking in love, they pull away, convinced they will only cause pain. They may believe they have too much baggage or are not spiritually evolved enough. The more their twin loves them, the more undeserving they feel. Running becomes an unconscious attempt to avoid confronting those buried beliefs. To heal this, you must mirror back self-acceptance rather than pain. Focus on your own self-worth. When you love yourself fully, you energetically affirm your twin's worthiness. The connection between you both is like a mirror. The healing you give yourself ripples to them. Compassion, not pressure, is what brings the runner closer to self-acceptance and eventually back to you. 6. The fear of the spiritual awakening. One of the most overwhelming parts of the twin flame journey for the runner is the spiritual awakening it triggers. Meeting their twin shatters the illusion of ordinary life. Suddenly, they become sensitive to energies, emotions, and synchronicities. They may start questioning everything they believed about reality, their purpose, values, and direction in life. For someone who has lived mostly in logic or the material world, this can feel destabilizing. The awakening can cause sleepless nights, emotional highs and lows, and a sense of identity loss. It feels like standing in the middle of a storm without knowing when it will end. Because this transformation began when they met their twin, they subconsciously associate the chaos with the person and instinctively run from it. Yet, this awakening is not a punishment, it's evolution. It's the soul preparing them to embody higher consciousness. But growth requires shedding what is false, and the ego resists that. This is why they may seem distant, cold, or confused. They are battling within. The best response is to allow space. Let them experience their awakening without interference. Focus on your own spiritual evolution. Meditate, ground yourself, and live in alignment. As you rise in vibration, you become an anchor of calm energy that helps them stabilize from afar. Number 7. The fear of rejection and abandonment. Almost every runner carries the old wound of rejection or abandonment. Somewhere in their past, they learned that love equals loss. So when they feel an intense connection, their first instinct is to protect themselves. The more they love you, the more they fear losing you, so they run before that can happen. It's not logical, it's survival. They tell themselves that leaving first gives them control over the pain, but deep down they ache. Their silence is not indifference, it's self-defense. When this happens, the chaser often feels crushed, but understanding the root of their fear changes everything. The healing begins when you stop taking their running personally. Recognize that their actions are about their wounds, not your worth. When you heal your own fear of abandonment, the energy between you shifts. The connection becomes less charged and more stable. The runner senses this peace energetically, which helps them face their own fears of rejection with more courage. 8. The fear of divine purpose. Few realize that twin flames are not brought together just for romance. They are united for a higher purpose. Their connection is meant to awaken consciousness, inspire others, and raise the vibration of the collective. But for the runner, this deeper knowing can feel like a heavy burden. They sense that being with their twin will change their life completely, forcing them to face truths they're not ready for. The runner may feel they're being pulled towards something bigger than themselves, a life mission or spiritual calling, and that pressure feels overwhelming. They might cling to their old identity, career, or relationships, trying to hold on to normalcy. Running becomes their way of delaying transformation. But destiny has patience. The twin flame path cannot be rushed. The best thing you can do is to live your purpose fully. Let your light guide, not chase. When you thrive in your truth, your twin feels it energetically. It reminds them that embracing their path doesn't mean losing freedom. It means stepping into fulfillment. Over time, this realization awakens them to their own higher calling. Healing the runner's fear doesn't come through words or persuasion. It happens through energy and inner work. You cannot convince them to stop running, but you can embody the energy that makes running unnecessary. That begins with surrender. Separation is not a punishment, it's preparation. It gives both twins space to heal and grow. Use this time to nurture yourself deeply. Reconnect with your passions, cultivate mindfulness, and strengthen your inner peace. The more balanced and whole you become, the more the energetic connection stabilizes. The runner begins to feel this equilibrium and is drawn back, not through force, but resonance. Remember, twin flame love is about freedom, not possession. When you release the need to control outcomes, you invite true union. You begin to understand that love, in its purest form, asks for nothing. It simply is. That is the vibration that dissolves fear. The most shocking thing the fearful runner struggles with is not the love itself, but what it awakens within, the dissolution of the self they once knew. They fear surrender because they equate it with losing identity. Yet the journey eventually teaches them that surrender is not destruction, it is rebirth. It is the soul expanding beyond limitation. When the runner finally stops resisting, they realize the truth. Love does not consume the self. It reveals the true self, the part untouched by fear, ego, or illusion. What they thought they would lose through surrender becomes exactly what they gain: authenticity, peace, and freedom. And so both twins transform. The chaser learns patience and unconditional love. The runner learns trust and surrender. What once seemed like separation was always an invitation to come home, not to each other first, but to themselves. When both return to that inner wholeness, the outer reunion follows naturally, like two rivers flowing back to the same ocean. This is the sacred paradox of the twin flame journey. The love that once made you run is the same love that sets you free. It strips you of illusion until all that remains is truth. You were never separate, only learning how to return to oneness through love.